They said I killed him. They screamed at me, cursed me, hated me. And months later, they begged me to save the only person they had left. My name is Maria, and I've been a nurse for 12 years. I've seen life begin with a cry and end with a whisper. But nothing prepared me for the night that would turn my life upside down. It was a busy evening at the hospital, alarms ringing, patients calling, doctors rushing. In the middle of the chaos was Mr. Haroon, a man with a weak heart and years of untreated blood pressure. I was assigned to his care. I checked on him every hour, monitored his vitals, adjusted his oxygen, and comforted him when he grew anxious. But near midnight, his condition suddenly worsened. His heart rate dropped. Machines screamed. We called the doctor, started compressions, fought for his life. But sometimes, even the strongest hands cannot reverse fate. Mr. Haroon died. When his family arrived, rich, loud, influential, grief turned quickly into rage. His daughter, Alina, shoved me by the shoulders, screaming, "You killed him. You did something. He was fine yesterday." Her brother pointed at me with trembling hands. It was her. She must have made a mistake. Their voices echoed through the hall. Other families stared. Nurses watched helplessly. And I stood there shaking, unable to defend myself through my own tears. The doctor tried to explain. "Your father had a critical heart condition. No one is to blame." But they didn't want truth. They wanted someone to carry their pain. And that someone became me. For weeks, I heard whispers in the hospital. "That's the nurse they accused. Did you hear what that family said? Maybe she did make a mistake." I became a shadow. Not respected. Not trusted. Just blamed. Some nights, I sat alone in my apartment and replayed everything I did. Every injection, every adjustment, every word of comfort. And every time, the same question broke me apart. Why do the kindest people get punished the most? But life wasn't finished with me. Fate was stitching a thread I couldn't see yet. Because 3 months later, the same family who accused me, the same people who cursed my name in the hospital halls, would return. Not with anger this time, but with desperation. Their mother collapsed that morning, and the only nurse available to save her life was me. They once called me a killer, but that morning, their screams were begging for my help. 3 months passed since Mr. Haroon died under my care. 3 months of whispers. 3 months of lowered eyes. 3 months of carrying a burden that wasn't mine. I tried to heal quietly. I worked double shifts, stayed late, and kept my head down. But the sting of that night never left me. Every time I walked past the emergency ward, I remembered Alina's voice. "You killed him." It echoed in my dreams. It echoed in my bones. But fate always has its own plans. It was a slow morning at the hospital. The kind where sunlight touches the floor, and for a moment, the world feels soft. I was at the nurses' station signing charts when the doors burst open. A stretcher flew in. Doctors yelled. People scrambled. And on that stretcher was Mrs. Haroon. Their mother. The same family. The same faces. The same voices that once tore me apart. Alina was at her side, hair messy, mascara running down her face. Her brother, Assad, looked pale and terrified. The moment Alina saw me, her eyes widened. Fear, anger, shock, all at once. "No!" she screamed. "Not her. Anybody but her." She pointed at me like she did the night her father died, as if I were death itself. But the doctor cut her off sharply. "We don't have time for this. Her oxygen is dropping now." Everyone froze. Time froze. Only the beeping machines moved. I stepped forward instinctively. My training took over. My fear disappeared. "Get me her file," I shouted. "Check her airway, clear it. Start 4 line now." My voice was firm, powerful, unshaking. Even the doctors stepped aside for me. Because in that moment, I wasn't the accused nurse. I wasn't the woman they blamed. I was the only person who could save her. As we rushed her into the ER, Alina grabbed my wrist. Her voice cracked with desperation. Please, please save my mother. Her tears drenched my hand. Her voice trembled like a child's. And I looked into her eyes. The same eyes filled with hatred 3 months ago. Now filled with fear. With regret. With hope. I didn't say a word. I simply nodded. And closed the ER doors behind me. Inside that room, I had one choice. Save the woman whose family destroyed my reputation. Or walk away. But nurses don't walk away. They accused me of killing their father. Now the life of the only parent they had left was in my hands. Inside the ER, the room exploded into motion. Machines beeped erratically. Nurses scrambled. A doctor shouted vitals. The air smelled of antiseptic and adrenaline. And on the bed was Mrs. Haroon, unconscious, pale, gasping for breath that wasn't reaching her. I didn't have time to think. I didn't have time to feel. I only had time to act. BP is dropping, someone yelled. She's losing oxygen. We're losing her. I stood at the head of the bed. My hands moved before my brain could process the chaos. Get me a crash cart, now. Prepare for intubation. Check her pulse again. A doctor glanced at me and whispered, Maria, if you don't get this right. I cut him off. I will. Because failure wasn't an option. Not for her. Not today. I tilted her chin, inserted the tube, and secured the airway. Her chest began to rise. Just a little. Just enough. We've got airflow, a nurse shouted. But her heart monitor was still unstable. Seconds felt like hours. Sweat dripped down my forehead. My hands trembled, but I kept going. I pressed on her chest. Come on, stay with me. Don't give up now. Breathe, breathe. The room went silent, except for the sound of my hands pushing life back into her. And then, beep, 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 beep. Her pulse returned. Weak, but alive. A collective exhale filled the room. The doctor looked at me with disbelief. You did it, Maria. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just stared at the woman whose life I had just fought for. Because outside that door, 3 months of hatred waited for an answer. Outside the ER, Alina was sobbing into her brother's chest. Assad paced the hallway, hands shaking. Every second felt like punishment. Every minute like a memory of how they screamed at me. When I stepped out, their eyes snapped toward me. Fear, guilt, hope, all mixed like storm clouds. Alina ran up to me, tears spilling. Is she alive? Please, tell me she's alive. I looked at her. The same girl who once pointed at me like I was a monster. Now kneeling in front of me, begging. I took a deep breath and said quietly, yes, she's alive. Alina gasped. Her brother covered his mouth with his hand, fighting tears. Alina broke down at my feet. Thank you, thank you. I don't deserve to ask you for anything. But please don't leave her. I gently lifted her up. I'm a nurse, I said softly. I don't walk away from people. Even when they walk away from me. Her sobs grew louder. But I wasn't done. Because the real truth, the truth they needed to hear, was still waiting. But saving their mother wasn't the end. The truth about their father's death was finally about to come out. I saved their mother's life. But the truth about their father's death was about to save mine. When Mrs. Haroon was stabilized, she was moved to a recovery room. I stepped out of the ER, exhausted, hands still trembling, clothes stained with the fight for her life. But the family didn't let me walk far. Assad approached me first, the same man who once looked at me with pure accusation. Now his voice was shaking. Maria. I don't know how to thank you. You saved our mother. I nodded gently. She's stable now. Alina stepped closer, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. For everything. For what I said that night. For blaming you. Her voice cracked. I couldn't accept losing my father. I needed someone to blame. And you were there. I swallowed hard. I know grief makes us blind, I said softly. But accusations. They leave scars too. She broke down again. Before I could say more, the senior doctor, Dr. Solomon, walked toward us. Folders in his hand, a serious look in his eyes. We need to talk, he said. His voice was firm. Final. The family straightened, bracing for news. He looked at them, then at me, and sighed. It's time you all know the truth about your father's death. Alina's face went pale. Assad's hands clenched. Dr. Solomon opened the file. Your father had a severe cardiac condition. We told him repeatedly to get surgery. He refused every time. Alina covered her mouth. No. He said he didn't need it. He hid the severity from you, the doctor continued. He pushed too hard. Ignored warnings. And that night, his heart simply gave out. He paused, looking directly at Maria. Maria did everything right. She followed every protocol. She stayed an extra hour after her shift just to make sure he was comfortable. Alina looked at me like she was seeing a different person after months of hatred. The doctor went on. If anything, your father passed peacefully because of her care, not despite it. Silence fell over the hallway. A silence made of guilt, shame, and broken pride. Assad stepped back, covering his face with both hands. We destroyed her life. Alina shook her head slowly. We accused you of killing him, when you were the only one trying to save him. Her voice cracked as she sobbed. Maria, how do you forgive something like that? I looked at them. My heart was tired, but not bitter. Because holding anger doesn't heal anyone, I whispered. And because your mother needed me today. That was enough. Alina fell to her knees again, grabbing my hands. Please forgive us. I lifted her gently. I already did. But inside me, something finally clicked into place. A weight lifted. A truth restored. I wasn't the monster they made me out to be. And now, they knew it too. But while the truth healed one wound, something unexpected happened in the recovery room. That changed everything again. When their mother opened her eyes, the first name she whispered was mine. Hours passed as Mrs. Haroon rested in the recovery room. The family waited outside, pacing, whispering, crying softly. I stayed nearby as part of protocol, but also because something inside me needed closure. Finally, her eyelids trembled. I stepped closer. Mrs. Haroon, can you hear me? She opened her eyes slowly, breathing with new strength. Pain and confusion flickered across her face for a moment. Then her gaze settled on me. And suddenly, she smiled. A weak, gentle smile, but full of recognition. Maria, she whispered. Alina gasped. Assad froze. Their mother knew my name. Alina rushed to her side. Mama, how do you know her? Mrs. Haroon squeezed my hand. Because she took care of your father, with more kindness than any of us ever did. The hallway went silent. She looked at her children, eyes tired but sharp. Your father. He used to tell me about her. Assad blinked, stunned. What do you mean? Mrs. Haroon took a deep breath. He told me she was gentle, patient, that she reminded him of his own mother. He said, if anything happens to me, thank that nurse. She's the reason I feel safe. Alina covered her mouth as tears flowed uncontrollably. Her mother continued. He knew his condition was serious. He knew the risks. And he told me, if the end came, it would not be her fault. The children broke. Assad stepped back, sobbing silently. Alina clung to the end of the bed, trembling. Mrs. Haroon's weak hand touched my face. I'm sorry you were blamed for something you didn't do. I swallowed hard, fighting tears. You don't need to apologize. She shook her head. I do. Because I should have spoken earlier. I should have come to you after he passed. She looked at her children again. But I was grieving. And grief makes cowards of us all. Alina cried harder. Mama, we ruined her life. Her mother whispered. Then start rebuilding it. Begin with gratitude. End with kindness. She squeezed my hand tightly. Thank you, Maria, for saving me. And for caring for him. Even when we didn't care for you. I finally let a tear fall. Because in that room, the truth didn't just come out. It healed something inside me that I didn't know was still broken. But life had one more turn to give, because later that night, the family made a decision that changed my future forever. They once accused me of taking a life. Now they wanted to give me a new one. After Mrs. Haroon woke up and spoke the truth, the mood in the hospital changed completely. The hatred, the suspicion, the unspoken accusations, all melted into a silence filled with shame. Assad approached me first. He wasn't the arrogant man I met months ago. He wasn't even the angry son who yelled in the hallway. He was just a broken human being. Maria, he said, voice trembling. We need to talk, properly. Not as enemies. Alina nodded beside him, wiping tears. I didn't say anything. I let them speak. Assad took a deep breath. We destroyed your peace. We spread lies. We made people look at you differently. And we never even stopped to think that you were the one holding our father's hand when we weren't there. His eyes filled with tears. We owe you an apology, deeper than anything words can hold. Alina stepped closer. Maria, I judged you that night at the dinner. I repeated terrible things about you. But today, you saved my mother, while I screamed at you to stay away. Her voice cracked. I don't know how to live with that. I placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You learn. You grow. And you let today be better than yesterday. Both of them cried softly. Later that evening, after Mrs. Haroon was moved to a private room, Assad approached me again, holding a sealed envelope. Maria, our father left us a company, a large one. And after what happened, we want to support you, not punish you. I frowned slightly. Support me? How? Alina stepped forward, her voice soft. We've spoken to the hospital board. We want to sponsor your advancement. Fully paid. So you can study to become a senior registered nurse or nurse practitioner. Whichever path you choose. My breath caught. A promotion? A scholarship? A future? I shook my head slowly. Why do this for me? Assad answered. Because we took something from you. Your peace. Your reputation. Your confidence. He stepped closer. And now we want to give something back. Alina added. You didn't just save our mother. You showed us what real humanity looks like. You showed us who we should have been. All along. My eyes filled with tears. Not because I needed reward, but because, for the first time in months, I felt seen. I felt respected. I felt restored. I took a deep breath and said, I will accept the help. Not because I need your money, but because I want your father's belief in me to become true. The siblings nodded, tears falling freely. And for the first time, we stood together not as enemies, but as human beings, finally learning how to heal. But the real moment of closure came the next morning. when Mrs. Haroon asked to speak to me alone. The world had accused me, but her words washed every wound clean. The next morning, sunlight filled Mrs. Haroon's room like a gentle blessing. She looked stronger, sitting up with pillows behind her, her hands folded neatly, like a woman ready to speak her heart. A nurse told me, "She's asking for you. Only you." I walked in quietly. She smiled the moment she saw me. "Maria," she whispered, "come sit beside me." I pulled a chair close and sat by her bedside. She reached out and took my hands between hers, warm, fragile, trembling. She took a breath and began. "I know my children hurt you. I know they made you carry guilt that wasn't yours. But I need you to know something." I leaned closer. Her voice softened. "The night their father died, he asked for you." I froze, unable to speak. He told me, "Maria is the one I trust the most. If I don't make it, tell her she did everything she could." My eyes filled instantly. Tears blurred my vision. She continued, "He wanted you to have peace. And I failed to give that to you." I shook my head, crying softly. "You were grieving. You didn't owe me anything." But she squeezed my hands tighter. "I owed you truth. I owed you gratitude. And today, I owe you honor." Then she lifted my hand and pressed it to her forehead, a gesture of deep respect in our culture. I gasped, overwhelmed. "What are you doing?" I whispered. Her voice broke. "Giving you the respect my pain didn't let me give earlier." Alina and Assad, standing silently by the door, began sobbing. Mrs. Haroon gently stroked the back of my hand. "Maria, you saved me. You cared for my husband. You taught my children what humility looks like." She smiled through tears. "You carry a heart this world doesn't deserve, but desperately needs." And then she said the words that broke me completely. "If I had another daughter, I would want her to be like you." I covered my mouth, sobbing. Alina rushed in, hugging me tightly. "Maria, please don't ever think we don't value you." Assad added, "You've changed us. You've changed our mother's life. And ours." For the first time in months, I felt whole again. I felt vindicated. I felt loved. Weeks later, as Mrs. Haroon fully recovered, the family kept their promise. They sponsored my advanced nursing degree. The hospital cleared my name publicly, and the whispering finally stopped. One evening, as I walked out of the hospital with the sunset on my face, I realized something. Some truths don't need to be shouted. Some justice doesn't need to be forced. Sometimes, kindness becomes the loudest voice. People may judge what they don't understand, but remember this: a good heart never stays hidden forever, because one day, the very people who doubted your worth will come searching for your light.